Hey, what have you heard about leasing a vehicle? Have you heard that leasing is an expensive option and that it's hard to do for your customers? Because if so, you're not by yourself. As a matter of fact, when I first started in the car business over 20 years ago, I was terrified of leasing. As a matter of fact, being in dealerships as often as I am, when I do interact with sales rep and ask them about leasing, they know very little, if anything at all, as far as with how beneficial the lease option is, especially in today's buying market. And I want to share with you how that is. I'm going to give you a few pointers on the benefits of offering a lease option and how to present those benefits to your customer to help them see just how the lease option may be the right way for them to go. Now, let's talk about the three traditional ways, or the traditional ways that people typically will buy a vehicle. They will go in and pay cash for it, or they go through a lender, whether it be their own lender or the dealership lenders, to purchase the vehicle. But the third option is oftentimes left off the table. Why? Out of straight fear. And let me give you some benefits of why the lease option may be more beneficial for your customer. See, when a customer is buying a vehicle traditionally, and let's say the vehicle is $30,000, what their payments are based off of is that lump sum of $30,000. And if their term is, let's say, 72, 84 months, 96 months, whatever it is, they have their warranties and their coverages for a limited period of time. Typically, you get 3 years on your basic limited warranty, 5 years on your powertrain warranty, or whatever it is. Some maybe even 10 years, but traditionally, you're looking at the 3 and the 5. But outside of that, guess what? That coverage is on the customer. They have to come out of pocket to take care of any of those payments for any of those repairs that they want to have done. Also, you have the depreciation at the end of the term. Whatever the vehicle has depreciated, however much the vehicle has depreciated, the customer is just going to have to eat that because they own it. Now, with a lease, look at a lease like renting an apartment versus buying a house. Okay, when you're renting the apartment, you're renting the apartment for the length of time that you're going to be staying there. But when you buy the home, you're buying it for a set amount of time, whether it be 30 years, but you may be renting it for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, or 5 years. And you have the option, depending on the situation, to maybe purchase the house if you like at the end, if that's in the agreement, or you can just wipe your hands and walk away from it. Leasing is the exact same way. So if it's that same $30,000 vehicle that I was just speaking about, and you're doing a lease for 3 years, what happens is the customer pays the difference between what the sales price of the vehicle is and what the depreciated value will be at the end of the term. And here's what that means. At the end of your 3 years or 5 years, your dealership has a way to be able to calculate what the depreciated value is. Meaning at the end of 3 years, here's what the vehicle will be worth. At the end of 5 years, here's what the vehicle will be worth. So let's just say it's a $30,000 vehicle, and they say that at the end of 3 years, the vehicle will be worth $15,000. I'm just going to use those numbers roughly. So what that means is the customer's lease term or lease payments, as opposed to being based on $30,000, they're only based on $15,000, which makes it much smaller and maybe more reasonable and doable for your customer's budget. So it's like you're only paying for what you use, period. So it's $30,000 vehicle. At the end of 3 years, the depreciated value is $15,000. Your customer's payments are based on that $15,000. So just remember, lease payments are based on the purchase price of the vehicle, the sales price of the vehicle, and the difference between the depreciated value at the end of the lease term. Okay, so if it's 3 years, if it's 5 years, whatever it is, whatever that depreciated value is, the customer's payments will be based on the difference between the sales price and the depreciated value. So that's one benefit. So you're only paying for what you use, and that significantly reduces the monthly payment. Another thing is that the customer always rides in style, because at the end of that 2 year, that 3 year, that 5 year lease term, they have the option to be able to come back in and maybe trade in and get another lease. If it's in the agreement, they may have the option to purchase that particular vehicle, or they can walk away with it. But with a lease, you know that you have repeat business. You have a customer that is coming back in only to your store to return that lease, to either purchase the remaining time on the lease, or to trade it out and to get another lease. So it's actually building in repeat business for yourself too. Another benefit is that the initial investment, also known as the down payment, is significantly lower, because that initial investment or that down payment is based only on the difference between that sales price and that depreciated value. So a customer that's buying the vehicle for $30,000, their down payment is based off of the $30,000. Somebody that's doing a lease option, the down payment is only based on that difference between the sales price and the depreciated value, which obviously will make the initial investment much smaller. Another huge benefit is out-of-pocket expenses on repairs. When a customer buys a vehicle outright, you know, at the end of their warranties, that's it. So if they have 72, 84 months, 96 months, and the coverages go up to 5 years, outside of that, unless they have invested in extended coverage, they're going to come out of pocket for that engine repair, that transmission repair, or to get anything fixed that they need to have fixed that's not some type of a manufacturer's issue or some recall or something. Everything is coming out of pocket for them. With a lease customer, their coverage throughout the duration of that lease is there. Their vehicle is protected. No out-of-pocket costs for any of the repairs that's under the coverages within that lease. So that's another huge benefit for your consumer. So when you're speaking with customers, one thing you want to avoid doing, if possible, is asking them, hey, would you like to finance or would you like to lease? Because if you, like I stated earlier, when I'm in most stores and I'm speaking to salespeople about leasing, they know very minimal. So if a person working inside the store knows minimal, imagine what the consumers know. If people working at the dealership view leasing as a negative thing, imagine how consumers may feel about it. So when you give them that choice or the option without any information, they're going to go with the traditional way, when in truth, the lease may actually be your best form of being customer focused and actually working to help them out by allowing them to just jump into the typical way when they may qualify for a lease, and we think we're doing them a good one, and that we're really helping them by allowing them to make this $30,000 purchase when the lease option actually is better. We're not doing them a good deal. We're actually doing them a disservice. And at the end of the day, the dealership still moves a unit, the dealership still earns, you still get paid a commission, and you actually put your customer in a much better spot by just informing them and educating them. But you don't want to ask. Make sure that you present it in a way that it seems beneficial. Now, at whatever point in your process, when you're speaking about how a customer may want to handle the purchase of the vehicle, you may use something like this. Now, if they have a way at your store, you want to stick with that. But the premise, as opposed to saying, hey, would you like to finance or would you like to do a lease? Make sure that you give them some information to make an educated decision. So it's, all right, so now that we got the vehicle selected, we have 3 options for you, and you let me know which one of these are going to work for you in order for you all to start driving it right away. Number 1 is you all can pay cash for it, okay? Number 2 is you can work with one of our lenders, or if you have your own, and we can take care of the purchase that way. And the third option, which may be extremely beneficial for you, and I'd be doing you a disservice if I didn't share with you, is the lease option. Now, what the lease is, many people are confused about leasing and they don't realize how beneficial it is. The benefit to you with the lease is it may significantly reduce your monthly payment, significantly reduce your down payment, protects your vehicle the entire time, the entire term of your lease, where you never have to worry about coming out of pocket for any of the repairs on any of the parts that are under coverage. And lastly, at the end of it, if you like it, you can keep it. If you don't, you can come back, bring it back and walk away, or maybe even trade it out. So based on those, which one of those options do you feel may work best? Now you may not use that wording verbatim. I just, kind of was going off the top of my head for the sake of this video, but it's somewhere very close to that. You want to educate people on the benefit of the lease because they just don't know. And the benefit to you, again, is repeat business. You have a built-in repeat customer. They have to come back to deal with you. Number two, you've actually done them a service. You've actually helped them, whether it be to save them money, whether it be to make a smart investment, whether it be to give them options, to free up options for them at the end of the term, whatever it may be. But it is solely based on your conversation with your customer, understanding what their budget range is, kind of getting an idea, if possible at all, of what their previous history may be, because to qualify for it, you're not going to have average credit qualifying for a lease. So that is one thing I want to make sure that you are aware of. But there are more people who qualify than you could imagine, but just were never given the option, were never given the opportunity, weren't educated on it. So when it comes to leasing, realize leasing has tremendous value. Lower monthly payments, lower initial down payment, coverage is throughout the entire term of the vehicle, and you're only paying for what you use. They're only paying for what they use. And at the end of the day, our objective is to help people make a smart, safe buying decision. And in today's climate, which you're facing inflation and heavy competition at different stores, you can really separate yourself, because I assure you, very few salespeople are even offering the lease option. And when people see the significant difference in the potential payments, they're blown back. And they say, why hadn't I been doing this? Now, another caveat for that is that the lease option, if somebody travels a lot in their vehicle, going, coast to coast, or driving all across the state, or a lot of in-town travel where they have high mileage, leasing may not be the way to go unless they're willing to invest in the additional miles, with their package or with their program. But if there's somebody that does high mileage, you may want to really investigate that a little bit, because the payments will be lower and the down payment will be lower, but if they go over, they have to pay for that. And the worst thing to happen would be they actually didn't save any money because they had to pay for the overages and the miles that they ended up using. Because you're getting a lot of the amount of miles that you can use per year within that lease. And when you go over those, there's a fee for that. There's a cost for that. So make sure during your qualifying, as we should be doing, you're asking the right questions. You're listening with the intent to understand. You're trying to identify where the problem is, where the pain is, or what it is that brought them in. And then based off of that, you want to present a solution that works best for them. Not whether you don't like leases, not whether you think it's high, not whether anything. It's not about us. It's all about them. So keep the main thing the main thing. And if you really are customer focused, a consumer deserves the opportunity to make the best decision for themselves by us just sharing the information in a positive way. Leasing is a positive thing. Most sales folks look at it negatively, so they present it negative, and the consumer believes it's negative, but it's really not. Remember, they're paying only for what it is that they use, and that's the difference between the sales price and the depreciation price. That's what their payments are based off of. That's what their down payment is based off of. They have coverage the entire time of their term, and they have the option to walk away from it or buy it, or maybe even just take on another lease. Either which way, they had to come back to your store to deal with you in order to get it done. So please never overlook the lease option. It actually could help you close far more deals than just letting them walk out because they felt the payments were too high. When we know that typically on average, most people are trading their vehicles out every maybe 3 to 5 years or so. And with terms being 72, 84, and 96 months, you actually can help somebody get payments close to that without being committed for 7, 8, years or whatnot. So lease option is an excellent option when it's presented the right way. Make sure you get with your management team. Make sure your business manager, your finance manager is on the same page, so that way the ball isn't dropped when it goes in with the business manager, and management knows exactly what you're doing. And if you are, you have questions about it, get with your manager. Ask them what do they base that depreciated value on? Who do you get with when you want to get that type of number? Are you allowed to generate it yourself, or do you have to get with management? Cover all of those bases before you just jump right into it. But I highly encourage you to make sure that you research the lease option. And if you have any other questions about how to help customers buy a vehicle, how to guide them through the road to the sale, how to convert more customers, how to drive leads from your social media pages to become customers calling in, walking in, asking for you, looking to buy from you. I have some awesome tools available at SPOR, SPOAR.us. Click that link in the description or click the link in the comments and go over and check out the awesome downloadable tools that you can take and you can apply at your dealership right now, today, and see instant results. Other than that, I'm Brian Maxwell. Hope this little tidbit helps, and I look forward to seeing you at the dealership. Over and out.